It's a reading from the second letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Let's dive into some news. Let's rip through it. I'm going to go fairly quickly so we can get Dr. Scott, and then maybe we can get to some questions at that segment. Spending priorities in the 2025 budget. Maintained salaries and projects following the footsteps of the government curriculum. I like this one because Mazhar Mohammed Salih, he is the financial advisor, economic advisor to Sudani. When you want to know what's really going on, this is who you listen to when it comes to Iraqi economy. For that part, most of their news altogether. He is saying the budget takes into account the budget expenditures. 156 trillion dinar are what they spend, and there's another nearly 70, I believe it is, that is discretionary based on rate. He's like, look, we've got the mechanisms. The rate's not a problem. We have the mechanism to only spend what's necessary, and we have the mechanism to change the rate if necessary. And they're already calling for that. We shared an article on Monday where they blatantly called for a rate change. So I like this one because there's a lot of confusion out there, and he's just explaining, hey, look, we've already taken all this into account. We can deal with this. No problem. Political researcher, the relationship between Baghdad and Erbil developed during the Sudanese era. They're just wanting us to know how far they have come. They point out that there are still a few outlying issues that they're trying to pound out, but they have come a very long way, and they only have a little way to go, and they are getting there by working together. This is one of those feel-good politics from the Erbil region and Baghdad. Iraq officially, and this is a big part of it, we know they have a big meeting coming Saturday. Erbil delegation already arriving in Baghdad for the weekend. Iraq officially reassures energy companies in the Kurdistan region and pledges to pay their dues. This is a big one. There's a lot of the energy companies to move forward on the agreement to start pumping the oil again out of the Erbil region, Basra, etc. All these areas, but most specifically the Kurdish region. They were stuck on this one because they wanted guarantees. They didn't want the money being sent to Kurdistan and then Kurdistan not paying us anyways. They worked it out, and Baghdad, the government, has guaranteed those. This was one of the biggest sticking points, and it appears they have worked it out before Saturday. This one, I think, will get us off stuck. Very interesting one and very interesting timing. This story breaking not that many hours ago in Zimbabwe. They are lifting the exchange rate controls, kind of like how in Iraq they have a fixed rate. They are letting it float and letting the market decide it. They backed it with gold. It was creating a black market, and by doing this, it removes the black market. They take the money out of the black market for their currency, and they're like, look, we've done everything we need to do. We've made it stable. We've asset backed it. Now it's time for the market to decide what it's worth. Guys, this is going to be very interesting. Why I'm pointing it out is this is exactly what Kuwait did when they revalued. And Iraq talking about doing the same thing. Tie it to a basket, tie it to assets, and then let the market decide, because it is exchangeable. It is convertible. That is a big, big piece of this puppy. So excited about that one. To me, it shows that Zimbabwe is preparing for a reset. This month really still in play. At least it is from the bond side, the banking side. They certainly believe it is. You have a number of people trying to find out how they're going to be contacted on prosperity packages. Like, let's say their parents had it and they passed away. I had somebody involved with prosperity packages tell me a number of years ago that at least their particular line of them, and they were with Omega, said that every so many years, because the fund has the dollars, they pay for a crew of private investigators to update locations, addresses, inheritances, and things like that very quietly in the background. So that gave me, kind of a feel good. So I've had a lot of people ask, oh my God, how are they going to even know? I am told that's how they'll know. But also, if you haven't been contacted and you believe you're supposed to, when this thing goes, when there's time for an appointment, you should ask at the appointment. I was also told that as a backup. Had a couple people asking, all right, do you have any updates on timing? I mean, I continue to see movement, but I don't know how close, if we're close. This is an answer I don't have.
And every time I get a question, I get more silence, and I don't get like NDA level silence. I get no one wants to talk about it silence, and I don't know what that means. I don't know how to explain that. Like, and it's funny, and I know you get this too, but I know that they're listening to my phone calls.
Oh yeah.
And I know when they're listening to my phone calls, and I'm not going to tell you how I know when they listen to my phone calls.
I have friends in government call and tell me what I've been talking about. So yeah, duh.
And I'm just going like, why would they want to listen to some idiot like me? I'm like to my phone calls, but I know what triggers happen, and so that's kind of interesting. But they're listening, and so and by the way. After this thing happens, be very careful what you say.
Be very careful what you say. Do not, if there's an NDA, do not.
And just act, by the way, act like there is. Act like there is, even if there is, just act like there is, no matter what happens. So,
Rapid Response 47, posted on X. 6:22 a.m. April 18, 2025. At POTUS. Oil is way ahead of schedule, and that's because of our policies. Oil is down into the $60 to $65 range now per barrel. Food is down, groceries are down, the costs are down, we have very little inflation.
Said the major things are going down. Oil is great. Oil is way ahead of schedule, and that's because of our policies. But oil is down into the $60, $65 range now per barrel. And I told you, in certain states we have less than $2 for gasoline. And food is down. Groceries, as we call it, are down. Other than interest rates, everything's down. Interest rates are pretty flat. It's not that they're up, but we should be better than flat. If he would lower the interest rate, I think it would have a good impact on that too. But the costs are down. We have very little inflation. I would say we have essentially no inflation. Hard to have inflation when oil goes down, and oil goes down. When Biden came in, oil went through the roof. That's what caused our problem. That and his very dumb spending. But when the oil prices go down, and they have gone down a lot, we've gotten it down really good. We've opened it up and we've gotten them down. And that means that people driving cars are going to be paying $2 and $2.50 instead of $4.50. And, even at the end, they tried just for the purpose of the election to get it down. But they had really lost that sucker. It was not good. But if they had won, oil right now would be at $7 or $8 because of their policy. And we're going to be at about $2. Could be even a little bit less than that. And you're starting to see it.
Forwarded from Nancy D on Telegram. This was posted on Carl Patriot's Telegram page. Physicist Dan Cooper, who claims he worked for the deep state and is the fifth person to have independently derived 6-force anti-gravity energy, joins Nino's Corner.tv with Laura Eisenhower.
He was mentioning how we travel through hyperspace. By the way, hyperspace is also limited to warp 10. The only way you can travel faster than warp 10 is through portals, stargates. That's the
Was
only
that
way
like,
to
remember the
travel fast.
Malaysia flight disappeared? What was that? The Malaysia flight, the airlines flight, there's video of it, of some spheres going around it, and then bam, it vanished, and it was just gone, and
That
ended
would
up
be
at,
them. That would be them beaming. We've had transporters since 1901. Nikola Tesla invented transporters where people can transport. Beam me down, Scotty. We've had
yeah.
them since 1901. I can prove it.
What about like Philadelphia experiment and Project Pegasus time travel with Andrew Basiago going back into time?
Andrew Basiago used his Nikola Tesla time travel device, which also uses the sixth force. The original time travel method was designed by Nikola Tesla with the sixth force. See, that's why the sixth force is so important to understand. It's extremely important to understand the sixth force because it enabled all of these things to happen. Time travel is real. We use the sixth force to achieve it. Nikola Tesla was the one who invented the first time travel method. The time travel method that Andrew Basiago mentions and describes was radiant energy. That's the sixth force that was originally invented by Nikola Tesla. The first time travel device was originally invented by Nikola Tesla.
What about Project Looking Glass?
Oh, yes, we are able to. Oh, that one was done by Dan Willis and who was that other guy? Morrison, I think it was. I forgot. Dan Willis is one of the co-inventors of the Looking Glass, where we're allowed to look into a person's future through their DNA. You can actually see a person's future through their DNA. That's what the Looking Glass means.
How the hell can you see it through their DNA?
How do they see a person's DNA?
How do they look into someone's future looking at the DNA?
Oh, it's a very, that one I never really unpacked that one. That's not one of the technologies I really unpacked, but I do know it's real.
So cool that so many of you are picking up on my Dinar post from yesterday about the largest trade delegation that took place in Baghdad, Iraq. No, not New York, London, but Iraq, And, these tariffs, it's interesting. I saw on Fox yesterday where they're going to essentially, all these countries are lining up. Vietnam, I think, is like first. Venezuela, Argentina, all these different countries. And so they're saying that they might just have to, there's so many of them, to launch it in a basket of countries to reveal all these, negotiations. It's my belief that this whole tariff thing was literally the launchpad, the catalyst to get this RV in place that we couldn't see back then, but now it makes so much sense that they're getting ready to launch this. And watch Iraq. I think they're up next. Well, let's get into the intel portion of where we are. And fortunately, I did get some information this afternoon and this evening that sort of filled up what we needed to learn about the intel. I'm always curious when we have information, let's say even on last Tuesday's call, that made Wednesday or today look really good for us to get everything started, to get our 800 numbers. Well, I came to find out, this is very interesting, really, how this happened. Came to find out that the reason it didn't go yet for us here, yesterday or today, is because the currencies that we have, and there are going to be 17 currencies that are going up substantially in value. And I've told you guys what I thought the main top 3 or 4 were. And what's happening is we got word with a call through the Treasury Department that these rates on dinar and dong are going to go up substantially. I mean, huge factors. And what's interesting about it is it looks like they need for that to happen before we get started. So we're not far away from it, but the information we're getting is pointing more toward everything getting released over the weekend, which sounds more like Saturday to me, not possibly tomorrow as much as Saturday. Could we get numbers on Saturday? Yes, we could. But it looks like releases I'm talking about that should occur maybe Saturday are for bondholders to get emails on when they should have their funds in their accounts active and accessible. And it just looks like with the Easter weekend here, Saturday, Sunday,
that it looks more like it's going to end up being about a Monday start for us. We could get notified Saturday and set appointments for Monday. I don't think we're going to have any redemption centers open Sunday on Easter Sunday. I hope not. But I think Monday is definitely in play. Easter Monday is in play. So when we say releases, I say, what does that really mean when we say everything gets released? Well, remember we still talked about a 48-hour rollout, and I think that's really what we're looking at. But it brings not only the weekend into play, but it brings Monday and therefore Monday, Tuesday into play again. Now, President Trump wanted this to start before Easter, which is this Sunday, before that. And I think we could get our notifications by or before Easter Sunday, but chances are our exchanges wouldn't take place until like Monday. And that was, it's like, oh man, I know that we want it to go before Easter and get started before Easter, but it looks like, from what I'm hearing from all sources, it could be a weekend event for notifications, but a start of exchanges like Monday. I'm not even going to bring Tuesday in because it was more Monday. So we'll see. We'll see. But I believe the main reason is for the currencies to trade up so much higher in value. In fact, Sunday night when the Forex reopens, we should see higher rates, and the rates on the screens will be many factors higher than they're actually showing today. And they're on the screens now at the Redemption Center. And I know roughly where the rates are now, but I think we're going to dramatically see an increase in these rates, and that's what we're getting. The other thing that we're getting is if you're invested in gold and silver, you probably made a pretty good investment, because we're hearing those two precious metals, and I don't know about palladium and platinum, they'll probably go up too, but they're going to go up pretty substantially in value. And we've heard of that for years. And I said, well, why this jump in price on gold? Why this looks like a major jump in the price of silver? Could be as early as next week. Why? And my theory was that because those metals are being used to back currencies, gold-backed currencies, and silver-backed too, in the sense of other currencies and virtual crypto coins. So if you're invested in gold and silver, that's probably a pretty safe bet for a pretty solid increase for you. So let's see if there's anything else that I can think of. Bob, I don't know if you're still listening, Bob, but do you remember the question that you asked me about that I was going to try to talk about tonight? Seemed like it was a non-issue, but I can't remember what it was. If you're there, it was great. It was in regard to the Forex. Oh, yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah, people were asking about the Forex. How do you see the rate on Forex? Well, Forex back in the old days was something you could find, and you could go on and you could track currency values. And I don't know when this was instituted. I'm going to say 3, 4, 5 years ago, Forex was not something the public could even find or look at. That's because all these exotic currencies were starting to be tradable, especially in the last week or so, when we've got 17 currencies that were exotic currencies going up in value substantially. And so the Forex is something, unless you're a trader in currencies and you have a subscription that you pay for Forex, you're really not going to know. You're not going to be able to get to it, see it. So that sort of takes care of people that want to track on the Forex. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't find the value of certain currencies, but the Forex is a huge trading platform with major currencies, usually about 16 major currencies that are in trading pairs. So-and-so, this currency and that currency trading together. It could be the U.S. dollar and the Great British Pound, or it could be against the Swissy, which is the Swiss franc, or it could be the euro in the relationship of trading pairs. Now, with the advent of all of these new currencies that we have tradable now, that are showing up on our redemption center screens and our bank screens, I don't know how many different trading pairs there are going to be, or if they're going to use them that way. Probably they still will, but The biggest thing we've got is the advantage of using the redemption centers as opposed to banks to get the higher rates. Now, the dong theoretically is going to, well, I'm going to say both dinar and dong, and of course the Zim's not available except at the redemption center, but I think you're going to find that you'll get the best possible rate at redemption centers. Now, here's one other point about banks. You remember, I believe it was Tuesday, I said that some of the states, the liberal states especially, had refused to get on the quantum financial system. And they were just playing hard to get, playing hardball. Well, guess what? Those mom and pop banks, those neighborhood branches, they were all taken over by HSBC, Wells Fargo, Chase, and Santander Bank, otherwise known as Banco Santander. Okay? Those four banks have taken over these bank branches that were reticent in making the changes they needed to make. They took them over, and now all states, and we had 3 initially, it ended up there were 7 states that we had issues in. Well, all of those states now have come to the party, and we're all banks now are fully interconnected on the quantum financial system, the Starlink system, using blockchain technology. They're all crypto, digitized. Everything is good to go. So we could go, but now they're saying, wait, we want these rates to be higher. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's supposed to happen somewhere around Sunday night, Monday. That's why we're not exchanging over the weekend. That's why we could get notified. It's possible we get notified Saturday or Sunday, but more than likely we're not going to start exchanges until Monday. So that was the explanation that I was given on that. Beyond that, 2 things. One, if you're registered with your email on bigcalluniverse.com, you're good to go. We'll be sending an email out with the toll-free number when we get it.
Swisher 1776, posted on X, 7:02 p.m, April 17, 2025. For entertainment purposes only. I'll see myself out. And she starts laughing. Could the one on the right be playing Sudani? Who knows? I mean, look at the things that he's done. He's been aligned with terrorists. He's been smuggling dollars, US dollars, into Iran. Anyway, who knows? No one's going to know till much later on, when all the truths are unraveled. Guess what day it is? It's today. Ross Morgan's laughing. This is funny. Too funny. Oh my gosh. This was forwarded from Wolverine. The greatest revolution has just begun. This is a galactic event. You were assigned this task before incarnating on this timeline. You were chosen to be here and now. You are a divine being. Remember who you are. The best is yet to come. We are stronger if we are united. JFK Pascal Najad. Now he's the spokesperson for Space Force. Is he trying to say he's JFK Jr.? There's a whole big story about JFK Jr. that they're saying, for entertainment purposes only, that he's still alive. Because he was going to be running for presidency at the same time Hillary Clinton was running. She knew very well she would lose against him. And the White Hat knew that she was going to take him down. So they put a clone in place. Nothing's substantiated or anything like that. But we just have to wait in the future. And wait till he just pops out. Hi, I'm still alive. Yes, but this Pascal Najad, he had an interview live, I think it was on his Rumble channel, with a psychic medium called Kerry, I can't remember her last name. Anyway, she was kind of combative towards him, and people were saying she's a bit rude towards him. The way she was talking to him, she didn't like, her tone was kind of aggressive, which is unlike a someone of that with that type of talent. Anyway, after the show, she approached him and said that she has some concerns. She's saying that she believes that he has some evil wizard attachment to him. The next day, he had arranged for her to be arrested and investigated. This guy is not someone to get into an argument with, because he's the spokesperson for Space Force. I mean, if he can have a psychic medium arrested, maybe I should watch my mouth too. Many of you don't know who Pascal Najadi is, but I'll just briefly give a little description about the guy. Now, he is someone that fights for humanity, especially for those that have taken the, JAB. He's got a Rumble channel, and I watched his earlier video sometime last year. He was talking about his situation. He did say that he took the JAB like so many innocent people, like myself. Anyway, it's because we did have a choice, but yeah, they're coming after these people, making us take the JAB, especially the government. And I found out recently, actually, we have our Bill of Rights. I have rights. They didn't. If they were the government, they cared about people, they would have said, oh no, actually, there is the Bill of Rights. No, they're not going to say that. They're going to basically enforce whatever BS bullshit they want to come up with, and to hell with whatever you're going to say. It's until you know, this person knows the Bill of Rights. Well, I'm not a legal person, but it's only until I saw it on Telegram. I do have rights. Of course we have rights. I have heard of the Bill of Rights. Anyway, so I'm not sure in regards to the timeline from when he had the jab to the time that he decided, okay, I'm going to the police to write up a formal police complaint against the whole medical system in Sweden. Police weren't sure how to address his complaint, and I think it went to somebody in government. Now, he wasn't getting a response. So the outcome of that, I'm not sure the timeline in regards to that. He took huge legal action against the Swedish government. You have big lawyers. These are global lawyers. There's a German lawyer, and there's other lawyers within that case. I do remember watching a video it's called amg-news.com. It's an American media group. They're also on Telegram. Very likely will be on that channel if you search for Pascal Najadi. And it shows an audio of the legal team involved with the JAB team. So yeah, they basically took legal action against all governments, and that's how Pascal Najadi become involved against fighting for humanity. So yeah, thought I'd just add that little bit about that little piece about him. Also, he made his point saying, if I find out any information about any pedos, you will be arrested. I don't care what part of the world that you're on. We will be coming for you. The Hanoi Times. Russia has proposed establishing a Moscow house in Hanoi to enhance cultural and economic ties between the two capitals. The Hanoi Times. Vietnam and China pledged to deepen ties, aligning key initiatives like Belt and Road and boosting trade connectivity. Vietnam FOMO. Will such a junk rate and clear eagerness from Vietnam to strike a deal with the US, China, and Russia suffer from Vietnam FOMO syndrome? Russia has proposed establishing a Moscow house in Hanoi to enhance cultural and economic ties between the two capitals. Vietnam and China pledged to deepen ties, as mentioned above, aligning key initiatives like Belt and Road and boosting trade connectivity. Flip the switch now. Reset oncoming. Flip the switch. Amadi on X. Ross Morgan on X. Posted. Last edited 4:49 a.m. April 18, 2025. He's tagged Swisher 1776. Swisher 1776 has said that the new IQD rate must be live before the KRG oil meeting on 4/19, but as long as there is no dispute over payments, the meeting will be a success and oil will flow. The fact that the budget law was amended yesterday in order to resolve KRG payment disputes is real evidence that a new IQD rate probably exists right now. The dispute over payments may not necessarily require a reveal of the new rate, as long as the KRG knows they're getting paid. If there is a new rate that allowed that to happen, we can expect the new rate very soon. Iraq declared a 2-day holiday declared on Easter Sunday and Monday, which Iraq really does. How soon will the budget be implemented? The KRG continues to produce around 286,000 barrels per day just to survive, but much of this is sold locally or smuggled, not exported through official channels. The KRG's financial losses are estimated at over 24 billion. Oil produced at the Kurdistan region is counted as part of Iraq's national quota under OPEC. To comply with OPEC limits, the federal government had to reduce its own production, which has negatively affected Iraq's overall export capacity. So Iraq has to reduce its own oil production while the KRG pumps oil not flowing through SOMO, no revenue sharing. Now you can see why the KRG oil disputes are about to resolve with these OPEC cuts to bring the KRG under SOMO, OPEC's regulation and resume revenue sharing. Iraq needs to compensate for a total of 1.93 million BPD of overproduction by June 2026. OPEC cuts equals less oil. How will Iraq compensate for this overproduction by June 2026? How again was the budget law magically amended to resolve the KRG oil payment disputes the moment OPEC makes oil cuts? Iraq must move quickly to get KRG oil production under control. The only way to do that is to implement the budget law, resolve the payment disputes, and get the KRG oil flowing again. I would expect a new rate very soon. Truth teller. Did Iraq just revalue? They passed the amendment law to resume oil exports and maximize revenues to prepare mechanisms for implementation, but Parliament didn't vote on it. Why? Because they're not responsible for the new rate. The CBI is. Nice rate change without saying it. Ross Morgan. Shit just got real. When you vibrate at the low frequency, you look for the path. When you vibrate at the high frequency, the path looks for you.